We've got the good, the bad, and the skunky. What are you tasting in your beer?
There's a loss in today's, especially in today's craft brewing movement, to appreciate malt and balance. You know, in terms of raw materials, we'll use probably a dozen to 18 different varieties of malted barley. So if you want to take a little pinch of those and taste them, the first one is just a pale ale malt, and that's got a real biscuity kind of character, almost like a Triscuit. The crystal malts, a little more sweetness, grape nuts.
Grape nuts, all right. Yeah.
Can't you just hear Mom ringing the bell and pouring the milk on the grape nuts? And then here the chocolate malts, fairly lightly roasted by comparison to some of the really heavily roasted malt, but you definitely get a roasty character out of it, almost like a coffee. Not a French roast per se, but a fairly dark roasted coffee. This is an ESB, extra special bitter. The reason I like this beer is because it's malty and complex in a malty way. Swirl that around and give that the nose test, see what happens.
Definitely chocolatey. This would be the darker barley that we tasted.
And you know, I use so very little of that. You don't need much, you know, you do get a roasty character out of it and the chocolatiness. The yeast is something that a lot of brewers are very kind of secretive about and particular about. And yeast's byproducts, things that created through the fermentation, can be a buttery character or a goaty character like goat cheese. You'll get things like celery and garlic and onion. These are not necessarily things you desire to have in your beer. Some fermentations will have those kind of things. There are a couple of things in a Budweiser that are particular to Budweiser, and a lot of people really enjoy them. I'm going to suggest something to you, and the first thing is going to be green apple. There's a little acetaldehyde in there. There's always a lot of it in Budweiser, and it's a little bit of an apple-y character. When you sip it and when you taste it, that apple and that ester will come through as a little bit sweet. Finally, during the fermentation process, you can get problems. A lager fermentation produces a lot of sulfur. Okay, and so a lot of fermentations, especially Pilsner fermentations, will have a real sulfury smell to them, either the matches or the rotten egg smell, and that will be reabsorbed by the yeast in the lagering process, which takes a long time. Okay, that's why those beers are stored for a long time to reabsorb those. Okay. A skunky character is indicative of what's called Lightstruck. This is a Pilsner that I made. I put it over in the sun for about 3 minutes. When I put it in the sun, several things happen. The UV light actually strikes this and it cleaves the sulfur chain off most of the hop constituents and creates that skunky character. Okay. You also might taste or smell a little bit of sulfur in there. If you get a little bit of that match kind of character or a little bit, that's present in the beer, but the light is going to accentuate that. And so beers like Heineken, because they have a green bottle, doesn't stop the UVs from penetrating the beer itself, will have that skunky character.
I've had a bit of sensory overload, but it was all good. You've been watching All Things Beer. We'll see you next time.